metaphor. I like that. Kawhi me a river.
Yeah. What are you going to be doing?
Yeah. Creative. Although, Skip, I don't know how Dame is going to feel about you doing that.
Yes.
Here's the thing. We do have playoff basketball today, but who has been the best in the bubble so far? Damian Lillard. Dame's hot streak in Orlando was capped off when he was named the unanimous MVP in the bubble over the weekend. Dame willed the Blazers into the A seed by averaging 37.6 points that included games of 42, 51, and 61. Shannon, did Dame deserve MVP?
Absolutely. I don't know really who else they could have given it to. You consider that he led the bubble in scoring. He was third in assists while leading his team. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were 3.5 games behind Memphis. And not only did they get to the play-in game, they ended up taking over the number 8 seed, which meaning they would only have to win one game. Skip, if you look at what he's been able to do, especially over the last 3 games, he goes 51-7, he goes 61-8, and he goes 42-12. That's a clip of 51 points per game, 9 assists per game. And they won those 3 games by a grand total of 7 points. He saved his best for last. 4 of the 8 high-scoring games in the bubble, he had those. He created the most points in the bubble, 61 points a game. Fourth quarter, Skip loves fourth quarter. He led in fourth quarter scoring. He led in fourth quarter assists. And he got his team in the bubble. And he caught some criticism because I thought he was like, well, if we ain't got anything to play for, I'm not going to play. And he was saying, give me an opportunity. If I go down there for these 2 weeks, 3 weeks, give me an opportunity to get my team into the playoffs, and I can live whatever results come of that. And he did it. He got his team into the playoffs. 89% from the free throw line. He was special, Skip. He was special. He showed you that he's a superstar, and superstars, that's what they do. When their number 2 guy, CJ, struggled in games, he brought him home. So for me, it was, I don't really understand who else could have gotten this award, considering that he was up near at the top in every statistical category as far as offensively. And so for me, it was a no-brainer. It was Dame time. The Dame Dollar, the great Dame, whatever adjective you want to, use to describe it, Skip. He's it now.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I got to get a new TV.
You need to.
I either got to get that or I got to get new LASIK, because I thought I was like 2015 vision, but something's wrong with my TV.
No, you was
I
looking
saw
at the year 2015.
very, very different games than you saw.
Okay.
You carefully omitted all of Dame Time's flameouts, all that he did not do in the bubble. And you also failed to mention the guy who should have been the MVP, Devin Booker, who simply took over a much younger team than Dame's team and led it to 8-0, beating 7 of 8 playoff teams by a margin of victory that was 13 a game compared to Dame's and company's 3 a game.
Right.
So they just basically crushed everybody they played. And against the Clippers, who I think is the best team in the bubble, the Clippers, it goes to the last shot, and it became the shot, the most memorable clutch shot of the bubble was shot by, here we go, that guy over Paul George.
And Kawhi.
That's the one that I will remember as the shot. I give you logo Lillards and various dunks that would trend all over the place on Twitter, but that one was a money shot against the same team who clowned and ridiculed Damian Lillard for coming up so small in the fourth quarter and down the stretch against their backups. No Kawhi, no Paul George in the fourth quarter, and he couldn't even overcome the backups. With a 5-point lead with 2 minutes left, he lost to the Clippers' backups by missing a 3 and obviously missing 2 key free throws. So even against the Clippers, it was so shockingly different that's Devin Booker time. It's not Dame time. And I'm sorry, but I look at the totality of what Damian didn't do. And by the way, you just made a comment. He saved his best for last. Can I go to the last? Do you realize that in the bubble, over Damian's last 19 minutes and 12 seconds of 2 fourth quarters, one against Brooklyn, one against Memphis, 19 minutes and 12 seconds, he didn't score a field goal. The guy you say, it's not even close, it's a no-brainer, did not score a field goal for the last 7-12 against Brooklyn and it was in a down-to-the-wire shootout. He scored 3 free throws that were bogus, unwarranted, wrong.
Are those points?
Yes, he got 3 points, but he did not make a field goal. And then in Saturday's fourth quarter, another shootout with Memphis, down to the wire, do or die both games.
What did he do?
Damian Lillard played all 12 minutes of the fourth quarter and went 0 for 1 from the field. 0 for 1 from the field? And you say he's the runaway MVP? What MVP goes 12 straight minutes without scoring a basket? I just sat there in awe. What MVP doesn't shoot in the fourth quarter? What MVP takes one shot in the fourth quarter? And by the way, guess who was lighting it up and saving his bacon? CJ stood for a clutch jumper because CJ hit the big 3 to tie with 3:08 left. He hit the big 3 to put them up 4 with 150 left. He hit another jumper with 121 to put them up 6.
CJ owed him.
And guess what? Carmelo finally owed him because he made the dagger shot that put them up 6 with 21 seconds left.
If you don't mind me asking, who assisted Melo on that play?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because Damian Lillard drives into the paint. I think, well, he's at least going to get to the foul line. And at the last second, he kicks it out to the Carmelo, who at that point was 0 for 5 from the three-point line. Is that the right basketball play?
Yeah.
It was just like a panic play. I'll throw it out there to Melo.
Skip.
Who wants to feed the guy who's 0 for 5? And I was like, don't do that.
Hold on.
He's 0 for 5, and he made it.
But you heard, but you hear Portland saying,
wow,
they're not surprised by what Melo is doing, considering he's a Hall of Famer. He's this, he's that. So why not have trust? He's on the floor in the fourth quarter for a reason. That seems to be their closing lineup. They're going to have Nurkic, they're going to have Melo, they're going to have Trent, and they're going to have those 2 outstanding guards. Skip, you look at it where he didn't score a basket, but Dame Lillard had 5 points, 5 of 5 from the free throw line with 3 assists. So
what superstar shoots one time in the fourth quarter of a shootout, do-or-die game?
Skip, you saw him trapping him, getting the ball out of his hand. You saw that. And then
if you're a superstar, you cannot be trapped.
Yeah, yes, you can. Yes, you can.
LeBron cannot be trapped. Michael Jordan could not be trapped.
They said, look, we're going to make someone else other than Dame beat us. And Gary Trent Jr. hit some big threes. You mentioned CJ hit some big threes, hit a big 2. Melo hit a big 3. Skip, you can live with that if someone other than Dame beats you. But here's the thing. He averaged 7 more points a game than Booker. He averaged more assists per game than Booker. He shot the 3 at a higher clip, although shooting double the amount of threes than Booker shot. He shot 12% higher from the three-point line, though he doubled him up in three-point attempts.
Who shot better from the field?
Okay, so
Devin Booker, a jump shooter.
So you know what we're going to do? We're going to nitpick. Devin Booker was about 50.2. Dame Lillard was 49.7. So if you want to nitpick that. But hey, let me tell you how this game really came down to, Skip. I know a lot of people don't remember this. But the last game before we stopped playing, you know what happened, right? Portland beat Phoenix. And that was the difference in the ball. That was the difference between Phoenix not getting in the play-in game and not playing, Portland. As opposed to Memphis.
Doesn't count in the bubble.
It doesn't. But so what we did, what does count in the bubble, if you don't mind me asking, at the end, Friday, I think it was Friday, what did Phoenix do with their bags? They packed up and they went back to Phoenix. Dame Lillard had a game to prepare for on Saturday in which he won, and he's getting ready to play the Lakers on Tuesday.
Let me ask you this. What more could Phoenix have done in the bubble?
I don't know.
What more?
I don't know what it is.
No? Are you kidding me? They own the bubble. They control the bubble.
No.
They won by 13 points a game against 7 out of 8 playoff teams. The other game was against Washington. That is spectacular, and that was mostly about Devin Booker.
Dame Lillard scored more points than anybody else over the final 3 games of the regular season. Now, think about these great scorers. Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, George Gervin. He's 20 points clear over his last 3 games, the final 3 games of the season, than any of the greatest scorers in NBA history. And they say, you know what, Dame? Skip, and he's playing 42 minutes. He dropped another almost 45 minutes. So he cannot rest. It reminds me of when LeBron was back in Cleveland, Skip, and he could only take 10 seconds at a time or 30 seconds at a time. Yeah, you see the numbers. 45 minutes in a 48-minute ball game, which is unheard of in today's time. But that's what he's willing to do. And he gave you, what do you do? Drop down on him, 31? oh, this old measly 31 points. He make me sick, them old little pedestrian 31 and 10. What I'm supposed to do with that?
So, what am I supposed to do with what Damian Lillard did not do in crunch time again and again and again that Devin Booker consistently clutched out? What am I supposed to do with their first loss? Portland's first loss came to Boston.
Yes.
And in that game, thanks to Gary Trent Jr.'s three, that's when we were first discovering Gary Trent Jr.
Correct.
They were first discovering him. He hits a three with 1:57 left to put them up 1 point. What did Damian do down the stretch of that game? Nothing. He took a shot with 53 seconds left, a three-point shot, and he missed it, and that was to tie the game, and they lost by 4. So he came up very small in their first loss, first of 2 losses. Then came the Clippers loss, which I mentioned before. And remember, that's no Kawhi and no Paul George down. He barely played in the fourth quarter, and they were up 5 with 2:58 left. Well, if you're telling me he's the MVP of the bubble, it's only 8 games. That's one you have to close against the Clipper backups. How do you explain they lost by 5? They're up by 5 with 2:58 left. They lose by 5. How do you justify he is the no-brainer runaway MVP when that happened against a team that we all consider a challenger, a contender? How do you explain that with 41 seconds left, he did make a driving layup to put them up 2, but then with 18 seconds left, he missed both free throws, and Pat Bev and Paul George are all over him doing this to him because they don't respect him because he hasn't yet earned the respect, especially in the postseason.
So what is Pat Bev?